Hello, everyone. Welcome to lecture 4 of this series about genome-wide association studies. This video will talk about gene-environment correlations and assortative mating. These are things that make your signal look stronger than it actually is. When you analyze especially behavioral traits, or psychiatric outcomes, but also lots of physical outcomes. You won't find genes for that outcome. There are no genes for schizophrenia or genes for extraversion or genes for educational attainment. These genetic effects do very basic biological things on a cellular level that are good for lots of different things or bad for some things, and they express cellular phenotypes, and these cells work together to form organs, and these organs form together to form a human being that behaves, and these behaviors make you act socially in a way that exposes you to certain environments, and that those environments also influence you and all those other layers of the organism that you are, and all of that gets entangled in this GWAS signal. So how do you know whether you're dealing with a genetic effect, with an underlying or correlated trait, or with an environmental effect? That's not very straightforward. So this review article talks about that, and this video as well, because a lot of these things are a result of the stuff that we're going to talk about. A lot of the environmental effects, I should say. That makes me think of this concept discussed in this book, The Extended Phenotype, by Richard Dawkins. It says here the phenotype should include all effects that a gene has on its environment, both inside and outside the body of an organism. Like this beaver, for example, the dam that he builds is an extended phenotype. So we humans also build stuff. We build houses, cities, nations, civilizations. And one of the core characteristics of a civilization is socioeconomic status. And so socioeconomic status is one of the social constructs that has a biggest effect on the processes that I will discuss in this talk. Because socioeconomic status makes certain heritable outcomes, certain genetic effects cluster in families, also in geographic regions, cluster with environmental effects, which makes them correlated with each other in ways that make them more difficult to separate in genome-wide association studies. So that happens very strongly in families. I call this gene-environment correlations within families, but some also may refer to these processes as indirect genetic effects. So this article studied that nicely. You see here two parents and their offspring. So parents pass down half of their genetic material to their offspring, right? So here they talk about transmitted alleles, but also the half that is not transmitted. But parents also provide a rearing environment for their children. And that rearing environment is correlated with genetics. If your parents have a higher education, they're likely to have a higher polygenic score for educational attainment, but they are also more likely to have better resources to provide an environment that can support you to get a better education as well. So the way they studied it in this paper is they made a polygenic score of the parents based on transmitted alleles, but also based on non-transmitted alleles. And they showed that those non-transmitted alleles also associate with the offspring phenotype. So they saw this most strongly for educational attainment, Educational attainment being one of the indicators of socioeconomic status. Basically, that's educational attainment and income, which I discuss in more detail in this paper. So they saw that these non-transmitted educational attainment alleles are associated with, well, educational attainment itself, but also a range of physical and mental health outcomes. This article shows the same process in a different way. They predicted educational attainment with a polygenic score in adopted and non-adopted people, and they saw that in non-adopted people, the polygenic score was twice as predictive. And that is because this polygenic score in non-adopted people, it predicts these genetic effects, but it also predicts the environmental effects that are correlated with the genetic effects in families. In adopted people, you separate that environment. Here they did something similar. They looked at polygenic scores of a wider range of traits and looked at whether they predicted the trait similarly between families and within families. And they saw that for cognitive traits like intelligence and educational attainment, the predictive power was 60% greater between families than within families. Because between families, it predicts both genetics and correlated environmental influences. Assortative mating actually has a similar effect on genetic effect estimates. The previous effects that I discussed can also partly be explained by assortative mating. And assortative mating is also strongest for things that are related to socioeconomic status, especially educational attainment and income, which you will see in the following slides. What assortative mating does, assortative mating is when spouse pairs resemble each other more than you would expect by chance. It increases genetic differences between families and decreases them within families. And it also inflates genetic effect estimates in GWASs, just like gene environment correlations does. And why does assortative mating also inflate GWAS effect estimates? I like to use this example. Suppose you have two different schools. One is in a rich neighborhood and one is in a poorer neighborhood. And let's say the rich neighborhood buys all the good teachers. If you then estimate the effect of one teacher, it will seem as if he's doing a much better job than he actually is because he is surrounded by all these other good teachers. The same thing happens on a genetic level with assortative mating. If a spouse pair resembles each other on a polygenic score for educational attainment, it's a highly polygenic trait. So there are lots of different SNPs that can contribute to this similarity. If they combine, all these trait increasing alleles will cluster in their children together, by the way, with their economic situation. So their environment also gets inflated. And so if you then estimate the effect of one SNP, it will seem as if the effect of that one SNP is stronger because it's surrounded by all these other trait increasing alleles. Same as with the teachers. So this paper used that concept in a very clever way. So if all these different alleles get transmitted together, the trait increasing alleles, that means that they will become more correlated in a population. They will they will start to become more in LD with each other in linkage disequilibrium, which we discussed in the previous videos. And not only those that are physically close to each other, but also across chromosomes. So what they did here is they made polygenic scores based on even chromosomes and polygenic scores based on odd chromosomes. And if those correlate with each other, that means that would be an indication of assortative mating. And they found that for the polygenic scores for educational attainment and for height. Much simpler way is to just look at correlations between spouses of polygenic scores, which they did here. Educational attainment showed strongest spouse correlations. Here they also did something clever. They did GWASs on outcomes from the partners. And they saw that this genetic spouse similarity was most strong for educational attainment. So one way to deal with these kinds of inflated effects and to have a better grasp of the what they call direct genetic effect is by doing a within family GWAS. So here in this paper, they looked at siblings and they compared in this figure the SNP heritability estimate of a GWAS done in the population, which is the green one, and within family, so within SIPship, that's the yellow one. And the biggest drop in SNP-based heritability, as you can see here, was for education. What also showed some interesting changes is the genetic correlation with educational attainment. So if you do a population-based GWAS on, let's say, BMI, you capture also part of the education signal or genetic effects associated with educational attainment. But if you look only at within families, then suddenly that genetic correlation disappears, which suggests that this family environment is causing a BMI GWAS to also pick up educational attainment genetic effects. Here they did something similar, but controlling for parental genotypes, and then they looked at the correlation, the genetic correlation between the direct genetic effects, which they get from the family GWAS and the population GWAS, and they saw quite big differences for many traits here, ADHD and household income on top. So how does this work, this family GWAS? So we are familiar from the previous videos with a standard GWAS, where you just estimate the beta of an individual's genotype, right? And additive effect, every additional effect allele will increase the phenotype by the same, but that is conflated with gene-environment correlation, assortative mating, and population stratification. So population stratification is actual confounding. Gene-environment correlation and assortative mating, because those arise from actual demographic processes. Some people differ in opinion whether you should call that confounding or not. But in the SIP-GWAS, what they do here is they have so they look at sibling pairs who share all of their ancestry with each other and family environment, but they show small differences between each other, which are due to the Mendelian segregation, which are random. And so that deviation that they show is captured by this term, and they control for the mean sibling genotype, so sort of the family genetic background as a covariate. And that isolates this random within family variation due to Mendelian segregation, which helps to capture more of the direct genetic effect. In the family-based GWAS, they do something similar, but they control for the parental genotypes. So, yeah, if you look here and here, these analyses are very useful, but the error bars are quite large, right? And that's because these family based data sets, the family data sets, just are more rare than big data sets of unrelated individuals. So this recent article um, talks about why it's important for biobanks to collect more family data. So hopefully that will increase in the near future. But family data doesn't solve everything. Um, there's also a wider geographic level of gene environment correlation. So, as I said earlier, parents pass down their genotype to their children, um, but also an environment that correlates with the genotype. That is called passive gene environment correlation. But if these siblings grow up and they show small differences between each other, the sibling with the higher polygenic score for, let's say, educational attainment is more likely to migrate to a region with more favorable environmental circumstances, and that's called active gene environment correlation. And how do you control for that? So in this, it's very hard to completely control for it because we don't know people's complete social circle or geographic history. But we showed in this paper that if you use control for geographic region, simply by including it as a covariate of both the birthplace and the current address, that you also significantly decrease their genetic correlation with educational attainment, especially for traits related to like BMI and substance use, so stuff that you put into your body from the environment. So this is just these GWASs were done in fast GWA, which we discussed in the previous lecture. The fast GWA has an option to include covariates as sort of dummy variables, so categorical covariates, and that's what we used here in UK Biobank. Um, and it substantially changed the signal for more than 50 physical and mental health outcomes, specifically reducing these socioeconomic genome-wide effects of educational attainment and income, especially. So, yeah, for a wide range of physical and mental health outcomes, you can capture a lot of these environmental effects or inflations due to assortative mating. It's quite a challenge to control all of it. I don't even know if it's possible or if it's what you want. It depends on what you want to do with the signal. Um, yeah, so to conclude, complex traits are very complex. Have fun with the practical. Good luck trying to make sense of the signal. And I hope these lectures were helpful. Thank you for your attention and have fun. Bye bye.